Hi, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Ask the Experts podcast. I would like to ask a question. How does your life shift? You have a high powered career and you are diagnosed with cancer. How does your life shift? Your life in general and your career. My guest today is Zoraida Morales, and she's going to be sharing how she had to navigate. Zoraida Morales is a high performing investment bank manager to cancer thriver. And Zoraida embodies radical reinvention. Now, her journey began when she was diagnosed with myeloid leukemia at the age of 45. She was she was also went through a divorce, and that in itself is a radical shift for anybody. And also she had to the unraveling of generational childhood trauma. Now, today, I'm happy to say Zoraida is 4 years in remission. That is amazing. And she is now leading with purpose from her signature program, Life by Design, Not by Default. Please give a warm welcome to Zoraida Morales. Zoraida, welcome to the show.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. Thank you so much, Alka. I'm so honored to be here. And especially since we share the same coach and we share a commitment to guide people through transformation. You know, um, my work is about helping survivors and change makers design their life with intention, not default, and reminding them that hope is their birthright.
That's right. Exactly. You got to have hope in no matter what, the adversities that you are going through. And, so we don't have hope. We don't have pretty much anything. So I want to start with Zoraida. Can you describe your career as in investment banking and before you were diagnosed with cancer? Can you share that story? How did that happen? What was going through your mind?
You know, I was at I was in a place in my life where I had everything going for me. I was in the career that I wanted. I was living in the home that was built just for me. I had two children, 3 and 6 years old, a husband. I was living in the suburbs. So I thought I was living my best life. Um, when I look at it now, I look and see how I wasn't in alignment with myself. And when I got the diagnosis, it shocked my world. It Everything that I knew was no longer what I knew. And this is what happens when you get a diagnosis. Your life is no longer what it used to be. And now the first question you have to ask yourself is, how do I want to live, right? You gotta shift that mindset.
Absolutely, 100%. And when you start to shift your mindset, but also shifting your mindset, viewers listening might, they might be thinking, well, how can I shift my mindset when I know I'm going through so much in my life with cancer, with a divorce, etc.? How can I start to shift my mindset? How is that possible? How did you go through that?
I had a grief. I had a grief. I had a grief for my old life, a
Uh-huh,
grief for who I used to be
uh-huh.
and what was coming up ahead. So, when you get a diagnosis, you start to experience the 5 stages of grief. You start to deny, you bargain, you get angry, What else is there? You get depressed. It's not a really good feeling. And the
No.
thing is that you're doing this with your old traumas and your limiting beliefs,
Mhm.
and those are getting in the way, and you don't even realize it.
Exactly, exactly. You don't realize. I guess you probably answered this question, but what was your initial reaction hearing the diagnosis of cancer? And how did you shift your perspective in life and work? I guess you probably answered that question, but how did you shift your perspective?
I got to tell you, when I first heard the news, you get this news from someone you don't know, someone you've
Mhm.
never met, you don't have a relationship with them, right? And so when she told me, you have chronic myeloid leukemia, I looked at her and I said, look at your paperwork again. You have the wrong client. You have the wrong patient in front of you.
Yes.
But in
Mhm.
my heart, Alka, I knew she was right. I knew she had the right person in front of me because I had spent 5 days getting blood work every day to get a diagnosis. Because here's the thing, you need to meet with an oncologist to get the diagnosis, but you cannot get a diagnosis until you meet with the oncologist, and they won't see you without a diagnosis. So I had to run and get and visit with a hematologist to see me within 2 days to get this diagnosis.
Oh, wow. 2 days.
So it was,
Mhm.
yeah. And so every day I was going for blood work until I met with her. And it was her front desk person who felt pity on me because I told her the whole story how I'm looking for a cancer diagnosis and I need someone to just confirm it. And she took pity on me and she put me in. She squeezed me into an appointment.
That's great.
It
Yeah.
would have never taken 2 days to meet a specialist.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I mean, now when we look back, with the hospitals today, there's a lot of backlog, and even to see a specialist, it takes, 2 years, even that. I mean, I know I was just made an appointment to see my GP, and I had to wait, a year or year and a half because she was so backlogged.
Yeah.
And it's just really sad because, if we are going through cancer or anything, and that's urgent. But because there's a backlog in the hospitals now, it's unfortunate that patients are not getting seen ASAP. They got to wait.
Yes. Yes.
And so that is a sad situation.
Yes. It's unfortunate. And it happens a
A-
lot, too many times.
Absolutely, yes.
Yeah.
So what was your biggest
Mhm.
challenge, would you say, when you were going through the treatments, the chemo? Were there any challenges that you can share with us as to what they were? How did you overcome those
Yeah.
challenges?
My challenge was myself, my mind and my ego, right? My traumas and my limiting beliefs getting in the way. Because again, you're using the tools that you've relied on and that have worked for many years. And now those same tools do not work. So I'm an investment banking. I'm a type A person, and I just kept asking, well, what do I have to do? You want me to take chemo? Okay, I'll take chemo. I need to have a bone marrow biopsy. Let's do that. Um, my family was like, you're the strongest person I know. My friends were like, if anyone can beat this, you can. Well, that wasn't helping me, right? They loved me, so they were trying to keep me strong, but that wasn't helping me really make that mindset shift that, oh shit, I've got cancer. How do I do it? How do I deal with this? And so what I was I was trying to be the same person that everyone wanted me to be, but that I wanted to be. I wanted
Mhm.
my old life back. And
Right.
this is what happens when you get a diagnosis. You want your life back. And so I tried working 10-hour days. I tried, um, you know, going to every basketball and baseball and soccer game that my kids had. And I wasn't putting myself first. I wasn't taking really good care of myself. I wasn't resting when I needed. I wasn't pausing when I needed. And everyone wanted me to be the same. And I wanted to be the same, but I wasn't until I had that mindset shift. And asked myself, how do you want to live? What are
Mm,
you hungry for? What do
wow.
you need that you don't have? And how do you get it? And I don't even know how I came up with those questions, right? But it took me about 2 good years to really determine the most simple thing. All I wanted was peace, love, and joy. That's it. Now,
Mm,
how was I going to get that? Right? And the peace had to be within myself. So I had to look at my traumas
mm,
from my childhood, generational trauma, past life trauma, in order to shift because those things were getting in my way. My mind and ego had I was always in fight or flight. My
right.
mind and ego were the leader.
Mhm,
But this time, and when you get a diagnosis, your heart has to be the leader. I didn't know that,
mm.
right? And so the heart said, I need to pause. I need to spend the night, the day in bed. I'm exhausted. But my mind and ego were going, no, no, we've got things to do. We've got people to rely that are relying on us. And I said, I'm not that person anymore. So I had to stand up for myself to myself, if that makes any sense.
Yes, it
And
does.
I had to change everything about me. And when you do that, sometimes the people around you don't like it because people are accustomed to getting what they get from you. And so there were some conflicts there. And when you get a diagnosis, you'll see that some people will move away from your relationship because they don't know how to deal with it.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I mean, when
It's a lot of things that are happening all at the same time.
at the same time, yes, at the same time, and it's not easy. It can never be easy for anybody going through a divorce, going through a cancer, but unfortunately, you were going through both at the same time, and your world, I mean, I can only imagine how your world just fell apart because
Ooh,
you were battling both at the same time. And how does anybody go through that? So I commend you for,
you know,
being brave and going through that.
I was more afraid of not living with my own peace because I went through 8 years of chemo when I realized I need a divorce, where I realized that I don't want to be loved like this anymore. When I
Mhm.
realized that I saw myself in a coffin. And how do I want to live? I don't want to live with regrets. I want to love who I want to love. I want to experience love the way I want to experience it. I want to travel as much as I could. I wanted to think about all the things that I wanted to do. And I was surrounded by people who didn't want me to change. And I get it because when you get a diagnosis, it affects everyone. It's not just you.
Does,
It
yes.
affects, your
Mhm.
family. And so they're now trying to caregive with their own traumas and their own limiting beliefs. You
Mhm.
see how it works? But when I started to shift mentally, physically, and spiritually, I kept getting things like, who do you think you are? The same things that I was told as a kid from the South Bronx of New York City, because I was born into generational poverty. And I got that a lot. Who do you think you are? Who
Right.
do you think you are that you think you deserve better? I learned that I deserved more than I was getting, but not only from them, from myself.
Mhm.
I had to learn this radical self-love because in my family, self-love was a mani and a petty and a back rub. But for me, self-love is not letting my mind and my ego override my heart. It's saying no when I need to rest.
Mhm.
Self-love for me is totally different and it makes people uncomfortable. And I knew that I needed a divorce and I asked for a divorce on year, I think I was 9 or 10 of taking chemo. And when I asked for it, the women in my family And even my friends said, "Who do you think you are? This is a 24-year marriage. No one's happy in a 24-year marriage." And all I could think of was, this is the first time I'm putting me first in
Yeah,
my life.
that's
It was
powerful.
a devotion to self that I needed to do for me because he wasn't taking really good care of me and I didn't feel safe.
Mhm.
And so, was I going to stay in a relationship to make other people comfortable? Not anymore. Yeah. And so at 59 years old, I got a divorce. And
Well,
that cracked me open. You see, it wasn't just it wasn't the cancer. The cancer rocked my world, but the divorce cracked me open because now I had to look in deeper. Where, how did I contribute to the demise of my relationship?
that's
And
powerful. Yeah.
how do I want to show up for myself?
Right.
And showing up
Exactly.
for myself was really important.
Absolutely. So, Zoraida, how does your background share with the viewers? How does your background in investment banking as an investment bank manager, and how does your leadership, so investment banking and leadership, how do you impact cancer survivors? So, how share with us your background as an investment bank manager
So,
and now as a leadership role with your program Life by Design, Not Default. And you are now helping survivors, caregivers to, learn how
yeah.
they need to survive. So share with us how does your background really help in your journey today?
Well, as an investment manager,
Yeah.
I managed, supervised 200 people, and then I had about
Mhm.
10 direct reports. So I was always a coach, right? I had to coach people to get the job done. Um, and I like to think, and many would agree, that I've always led with compassion,
Mhm.
empathy.
Yeah.
And but when I got this cancer diagnosis, I really took compassion and empathy to a whole different level. Like I really understood what leadership meant, right?
Right.
And so when I finally decided that I was going to be that coach, that leader to walk alongside other people who get that diagnosis, I knew that I was the perfect person for it because I had the compassion, the empathy. My mission is to ensure that anyone who gets a diagnosis
Mhm.
knows that A, they're not alone. Two, that hope is their birthright.
Right.
And that three, there's someone like me to walk it through it because I'm still walking through it. Even though I'm 4 years in remission and 13 years of taking chemo, I'm still walking through it because I still have remnants of medical issues because this is what happens when you get a diagnosis.
Mhm.
So, yeah, so I get to everything that I've created is because I went through it. So I created the three pillars of nutrition: mental, right? Mindset shift. How do you reclaim your mindset? Physical, food is medicine. So how do you incorporate more healthy foods and whole foods into your diet?
Yes.
Movement is it's needed so that you can change your state, right? And then spirituality, you know, believing in someone or something higher than yourself, regardless of what that is for that person. And I've been lucky to help many people.
That's
Yeah.
beautiful. Yeah, no, that's just absolutely just a fantastic. When we can serve, and I always find Zoraida, even in my own journey and people that I know around me who have gone through difficult situations, it always makes me, step back and really applaud them because, life is never easy. Life is never linear. there's always ups and downs and challenges, there's roadblocks. And I know even my journey when I went through a divorce, that alone, my world just broke. But what I need to do, just like what you had to do, I had to pause and I had to self-reflect. And that's also, I'm sure that's what you also had to do in those moments. We have to self-reflect. We have to
Yeah.
say, well, where are we today and how is that helping us? And so self-reflection, I really
Yes.
find, helped me.
Yeah. And I'm so happy it did because this is how we all grow, right? With the self-reflection. And what I've
Yes,
really learned was forgiving myself,
forgiving.
forgiving
Yes.
myself
Uh-huh.
for the bad mistakes I made, for the things I said, for the things I did, for the way I sabotaged myself. I mean, forgiveness, once you forgive yourself, you can forgive others.
So true.
And
Yes.
you're not forgiving others for their sake. You're forgiving others because you want to remove all that angst from your body, from because the body remembers, right? And so I wanted to just be my best self because I said if I'm taking chemo for 13 years and I'm still here, there's a reason. I'm supposed to do something with that. And so I need to learn and teach. And so becoming this person really was because it's what I wanted for myself. I had no idea I was going to impact others. I had no idea. It's not what I wanted, actually. I just wanted to start a project management business because I'm like, okay, I'll shift and I'll do what I know how to do, which is project management. But Spirit called me and my heart lit up and I was like, I'm going to be your coach. I'm going to be your cancer coach. And it's been the best thing that's ever happened. Not the easiest. I mean, because again, it's a mindset shift to go from a finance manager to a cancer coach, a nutrition coach. But I had to do a lot of work on myself, on my soul, which I still do every day, on my traumas, on my and I still have to speak to people who were caused some of that trauma. So there's a lot of work that needs to be done, and I'm all for it. And so when people told me, "Oh, you're the strongest person I know," now I go, "Darn right I am. I know it. I know it. I was meant for this."
Hmm.
Yeah.
Exactly. And that's just so commendable as to, what you had to go through. And oftentimes when people say, you're strong, how did you do it? There's work. We've got to do that inner work. Life is, as I said, life is never linear. It always gonna throw
Yes.
curveballs at you. But what I have found in
That's
my
right.
own journey when I was going through a
Yeah.
divorce was that I had to not only self-reflect, but I had to be the one to learn how to navigate. And learning was to heal, because that healing is very important. We have to heal first internally before the
Yeah.
external even begins to happen, that shift. How have we healed first of all
Yes.
internally? That's how we become strong. So I commend you, Zoraida, for really being brave
Oh,
and taking
thank you.
that. How do you approach how has the approach how do you tailor approach to the different individuals that you are coaching, and what are their needs as those your clients are going through their own different phase in life? How is that journey, how has it helped them? Can you share with us?
So so many things come up, right? Because and you've hired coaches, right? You hire a coach for something. So people come to me and they go, okay, I have a cancer diagnosis. I want to learn how to eat better, right? I want to manage my fear and stress. But by the time they leave me, we've worked on so many mental things that have come up from their childhood, their limiting beliefs.
Mhm.
because, I get people who say, no, I cannot eat whole foods. I cannot stop drinking 8 Pepsis a day. So my question is why? And
Mm.
as a coach, I ask that question a lot. Why can't you? Why can't you bring it to 7? Right? Because we do things in increments. This is not, we're not trying to be radical when we're making baby, we need to make baby steps. So why can't you go from 7 Cokes to 8 Cokes? What are you getting from that pleasure of opening up the Coke, hearing the fizz, right? Drinking it. What are you're getting something out of it. What do you, so I just keep asking questions and asking questions and asking questions. And so when I find that people start to shift, it's because they're working on their traumas from
Mhm.
their childhood, from their generational traumas. And then they go, oh. I mean, I have one woman who said, I was sexually abused as a child. Not that she forgot that she was sexually abused, but she realized that there were certain limiting beliefs that she had because she was in fear mode.
Right. Yeah.
She
Hmm.
wanted to be in, which made sense. She wanted to do the things that gave her comfort. And so now, now there we've got to tap into that mental part. So it uncovers a lot. It just, and which is what happened to me, right? I was a kid from the South Bronx of New York City who went to college at night and worked in finance during the day, right? It seems like a success story. And my mother kept telling me, oh, stop thinking about it. You've made it. You've made it. Well, 30 years later, when I finally get that diagnosis, I realized that me putting that in the back burner and not addressing it with a therapist hurt me because I probably wouldn't have married the man that I did because I probably would have said to myself, I'm not his teacher. This is what I'm saying to myself. I'm not his teacher. I'm not meant to be his teacher, right? I want a man to meet me where I'm at. I didn't think that I was worthy enough to meet that man. So when I met this man, I figured I'll help him change because
Mm.
isn't that what we women are taught to do? I
Change. Right. Yes. Yeah. Hmm.
mean, I come from a Puerto Rican household. I'm the oldest. I was taught that you can take, I'm a caregiver. You take care of others, you help others, but no one taught me how to take care of myself, how to devote to self, how to put myself first. But if I would have had those tools, I would have said, this man is not it, right? Not that he's a bad person, but he wouldn't. But again, I was that person. I'm
Hmm.
not that person now.
Right.
I would never coach or teach a man that I'm dating. That wouldn't work for me now. I've done too much work on myself to know the difference now. Yeah. But
Hmm.
those are lessons that I needed to learn. You see,
Right.
these lessons come from my past life. And I
And
broke the cycle.
right. And life is a constant learning. Our past shapes us who we are today.
Yeah.
And And I absolutely love that your past shapes who you are today. And those experiences of divorce, of any adversities that one goes through, those are experiences that we all can learn from as to, what did we do? What went wrong? How could I have been better? But if you don't learn from your mistakes, if there were any mistakes,
Yeah.
but if you don't learn as to
Yeah.
what was good in that relationship, and you also mentioned forgiveness, that it doesn't matter the relationship, and your past is what is making you today, is what's shaping you today. So the forgiveness, and I love what you said, you're not forgiving the other person, but you need to forgive yourself. Because once you can learn to forgive yourself, you are, in essence, forgiving other people. And I think that is the most
Yes.
powerful.
Yeah. That was the best gift that I gave myself. I actually wrote a forgiveness poem to myself. in 2021. It was COVID. I was living by myself. I had sold the home that we lived in. I moved to New York. I was all alone. I was not happy because most of the people in my life were very judgmental about me asking for a divorce. Because here's another thing: when it's a woman asking for a divorce, it takes a whole different tone for other people.
It
So
does.
other
Yes.
people
Yeah.
feel like, who do you think you are? Right? I was told to have an affair. I said, this is not about sex, right? It was about safety. It was about love. It was about trust. Um, and so, forgiveness, because I had to say to myself, well, what role did I play in the demise of my relationship? And I was like, well, I'll accept 15% of the blame, right? Because no one's totally 100%.
Right.
But I I didn't know what I didn't know at the time that I married him, right? I know now. And
Mhm.
still to this day, I'm 62 and I say to people, I don't know what I don't know, which is why I have a business coach, because I don't know what I don't know. And so I want to be in the room with people who do know more than me so I can learn.
Right. Exactly. And learning never ends. Learning never ends. Doesn't matter how old, we get, how young we are, but, learning, as long as you're willing to learn and really accept your life and how you want to shape, that's how it is. So, what advice, Zoraida, would you share, or the struggles people are going through? Um, what are some of the strategies that you recommend that survivors who want to rebuild their lives physically, mentally, and emotionally?
I always say to them, be curious.
Hmm.
So I was in survival mode for 13 years, but I wanted to be in thriver mode. I wanted more, because if I was going to live in this world, I wanted to live a good life, right? I wanted to live the life that I wanted. So I became a solo traveler, right? So, one, do what you love. I
Yeah.
like to travel. I'm
Mhm.
not waiting for anyone to say, well, my job doesn't allow me to travel to March. I left. I went for 6 weeks and I went to Europe and I did this a few times. I just went because this is doing things that I love, right? Tapping into my 6, 7 year old self to do the things that I love. What do I love to do?
Mhm.
I love riding a bike. I like dancing. I love singing love songs to myself. I love doing crossword puzzles.
Mhm.
I mean, it's for other people, they may not be that interesting, but for me, they bring me so much joy. So I tell
Right.
people, tap
Mhm.
into your joy, find your
Yeah,
joy,
exactly. I love
right?
that
Whatever that
point.
is for
Yes.
you,
Hmm.
find your joy
Hmm.
and be curious, because don't wait till you get a diagnosis like I did.
Exactly. Yes.
Live.
Hmm.
So be curious. If you always wanted to learn something, hire a coach,
Yeah.
right? Some people are waiting till one day. I thought that when my husband and I said, "To death do you part, in sickness and in health," that I was we were that I wasn't going to get sick. I thought we would be 90 years old dancing on a stage somewhere. That was so unrealistic of me. That was a fairy tale, right? So tap into joy, finding the things you love, and then change the way you eat. Food is medicine. So I eat clean, and I'm not expecting everyone to eat clean, but you can eat cleaner. Take some of those processed foods out of your diet. Start to learn how to read those ingredients listings.
Hmm.
Find ways to love yourself. Really love yourself. Self worth is different than self confidence. See, self-confidence depends on titles and certifications and licenses and other people giving you accolades. But self-worth is here. You don't need anyone for that. And so I help people build on that, right? That mental clarity, that that thing that says, you know what? I'm going to Estonia for 6 weeks and I'm going to walk in the forest and I am going to do some breath work and meditation and I'm going to meet some fabulous people. Yeah, that's devotion to self, right? You're not depending on other people or anything. You're doing whatever you want. I mean, some people may say, oh, how could you do that? Well, how can you not if it's what you love,
Yeah.
right?
Hmm.
Um, finding that clarity with yourself is key for everything for me. Devotion to self is key. It's how you're going to change your whole life. I promise you. So do it in with mental exercises, do it with food exercises, do it with spiritual exercises, but pour into yourself. And that's what I'm learning as an entrepreneur, that I have to put myself first. So I have deadlines, we have deadlines. We make commitments to people, places, and things, but sometimes the body doesn't allow it. Sometimes you have to make that phone call and say, I know I promised this, but at this moment, I don't have the capacity. Being authentic, asking for what you need. Would you give me a couple of days? Asking for help. Yeah, I had to learn all that because I was brought up that you never ask for help, that
Right.
asking for help was a weakness, that vulnerability was a weakness. I had to rewire myself with hypnotherapists, energy decoders, NLPs. I mean, I've done a lot of work on myself. I've spent thousands and thousands, a lot of thousands of money on myself because I knew that I wanted to be a certain person and I knew I had it in me.
Mhm.
But I had all these conflicts because of who I was for so many years. So devote to self, number one, and all those things will happen. And get a coach. I mean, I work with people who don't have cancer. Isn't that something? I mean, I just finished working with someone who just became, who's going through a divorce. I just worked with someone who got a pre-diabetes diagnosis. Again, not cancer. But what did they learn? Devotion to self. So now she can go through that divorce and show up for herself in such a loving way.
Yeah.
You know how hard that is. We in America, we act like divorce is not a big deal because 50% of the people get a divorce. But it's the hardest thing we're ever going to do.
Right.
It cracks you open.
Hmm.
You and I get to decide how we want to show up for ourselves. We took the challenge. Not everybody does that, but everyone needs to know that they can. It's all by, and it's not, devotion to self is not, it's not boundaries with others, even though it ends up being the boundaries with others, it's boundaries with yourself.
Hmm.
So I would not let my mind and my ego override my heart anymore. That was my boundary. When my mind and my ego said, we're not going to be a coach, we're not going to be poor again. We want the lifestyle that we have in finance. I had to go back and say, we're not going to be poor. Who said we're going to be poor? That was a limiting belief. I said, we're not going to be poor, but we're going to help a lot of people. And my heart is all in it. So this is what we're going to do because we've done it for 59 years the way, living mind and ego, mind and ego. We're going to do things differently now.
Hmm. And it's interesting because
And yes,
yeah,
no, go ahead.
ego, ego definitely wants to come into play. When we least expect it, ego wants to come in. Oh no, I don't think you should do this. I don't think you should do that. So it's just very, very interesting how the moment we want to take like 10 steps to improve our lives,
Yeah.
that ego instantaneously just comes in and will, get you off your tracks.
Yeah.
There are a couple of things that you just said, Zoraida. I just
And
absolutely
I
love.
get it because
Yes,
I was gonna say, I get it, right? The ego is here to protect us.
it
The
is. Yeah.
ego loves us.
Mhm.
They want to see us on our best, but the ego also remembers. They remember the time it didn't work out.
Yes,
And so they're trying to hold us, and sometimes it holds us back.
it
So when
does.
we focus with our heart,
Mhm.
oh my God, it's such a beautiful, I've never felt such a beautiful feeling in my entire life. Everything, I don't know, it just all works out for me. And I know it will work out for others as well. Life isn't perfect, but when I lead with my heart, I
Mhm.
do things that are scary and then they're exciting. Like podcasting. I started 4 years ago. I would have never done that if I wouldn't have told the ego that I was going to be the leader now.
Mhm.
Because the ego would have said, "We don't want people to know what we've been through.
Yeah,
That's very uncomfortable. People will use it against us."
right.
Yeah.
That is so true. And I love what you just said, Azuranda. When, women especially, like, we always like hold ourselves back. We're always the ones who are taking care of others, family, etc. But we always put ourselves last. And also, what is important, what I truly learned in my life, what I was going through with divorce, was that I needed to prioritize and women and that word itself, divorce, is a stigma because a lot of people, like I said, they don't want to talk about it. They don't want to um they don't want to talk about it. They don't want to realize that they're going through. So sometimes, we hold ourselves back. And that should not be the case because, I think women have so much to offer and they take care of the family and etc. But we need to also take care of ourselves. And like you said, value yourself, your self-worth, your self-value, and know that it's okay to talk about cancer, what you're going through, the divorce, what you're going through, and to be able to share and ask for help. And oftentimes, most
Ask
do
for
not
help.
want to ask for help. They feel ashamed. And especially divorce, I see a lot of people around me, friends, family who are going through this difficult transition in their lives. And, you know, they feel ashamed. There's a shame and guilt that comes, from that.
Yeah. I
So
know
we,
I felt it when I was going through the divorce. I felt it when I was going through cancer. I
mhm,
felt guilt and shame because I had cancer. Guilt because I had a 3-year-old and a 6-year-old.
mhm.
And I said, they're never going to be the same. They're going to experience things that no other 3 and 6-year-old would experience. And for that, I felt guilt. And then
Right.
shame.
Mhm.
There was a lot of whispering. There's a lot of whisper with a diagnosis, any diagnosis. Oh, she's got cancer. Oh, that's why her hair's short. That's why she doesn't look good. Whispers. It makes other people uncomfortable because, and you know why? It's not that they don't love you. It's because they don't know how to tap into their own compassion, their own empathy. They don't know what they would do if that were to happen to them. And that's
Oh,
how they think, oh my God, what if that happened to me?
yes, exactly. That self-reflection.
And the same thing with a divorce.
Mhm.
Yeah. The same thing with a divorce. You know, someone told me, oh, you're not the first person to get a divorce. You're not the last. You're not special. Like, why do I need to contact you and see how you're doing? It's not a big deal. And I was like, oh my God, really? You're normalizing divorce. It is a big deal. And I said, and you had one.
Yeah.
I said, but here's the thing. I know that you didn't get the compassion and the empathy that you needed. And so now you don't know how to give it to me. I
Mm.
get it. I was like, I
Oh,
get it.
wow.
And
Yes.
I had to reflect and say, okay, this has nothing to do with me. But at the same time, I need to be around people who are going to help me and not be in a negative state. So I had to stay away from that person. Yeah.
That is so true. Exactly. We've got to stay away from people who don't want to support us. Your final question, Zoraida. This is such a powerful conversation. It really has been enlightening. What message do you want to leave with people who are currently fighting cancer or supporting someone who is going through it?
You know, I said it earlier. Um, I want people to know that hope is their birthright. No matter what diagnosis you have, you deserve to live with peace, love, and joy in your heart because you are enough.
Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely. Well, Zoraida, this has been such a powerful conversation. I really want to
Well, thank you.
thank you and I really want to commend you for what you have gone through, but also you have come out on the other side, stronger. You're more empowering. You're a leader who is, you know helping other individuals, survivors, to thrive no matter the adversities that they are going through. To know
Yeah.
that you have gone through it and you have come out as a winner. You've triumphed over the setbacks. And so I'm just so proud as to what you are doing today. How can people connect with you? Where can they find you?
Oh, well, thank you. And I enjoyed our conversation and I look forward to many more. People can find me at zoraidamorales.com. I'm also building a website at Life by Design, not Default. So it's going to be even more fabulous because this is now on thrivership, not just survivorship. And I
Yes.
write, and I write about the mental, physical, and spiritual nutrition at LinkedIn. And I write about 3 or 4 times a week. So I'm there a lot. And I write about all the things that I talk about right now, like fear versus faith and devotion to self and boundaries with yourself, being an entrepreneur, being a new entrepreneur, being a survivor. I speak about hope and transformation and rising. And yeah, so, you don't have to be a cancer person to follow me because, I talk about things that affect us all, human, right
Abs-
here.
exactly. What touches your soul, that's what matters the most. And so thank you so much, Zoraida, for sharing
Um,
such insightful information, powerful conversation. And I too look forward to, seeing what we can do in the future. And to you, the viewers, thank you for tuning in today and for joining Zoraida on this inspiring, empowering conversations that you've heard firsthand how overcoming leukemia can truly transform your life. And Zoraida Morales is truly exemplifies how she had to navigate her life and also how she has triumphed and come out stronger as a leader today. And also remember, no matter what you are going through, no matter what the adversities, cancer, divorce in your life, or someone who's also going through difficult situations, challenges in their life, to know that you are not alone. You always need to ask for help because this is what we need to do so that we too can empower ourselves. Thank you so much, everyone. Until next time on Ask the Expert podcast. Bye for now. Thank you, Zoraida.